Welcome to Families in Action on your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS. I'm Cary Quashen, along with my co-host Michael Duarte, which, if you watch us on television, you all see that we call him the Silver Fox, and you'll know why we call him the Silver Fox.
That's that gray hair thing.
Silver hair. It's that silver hair thing, Michael.
Passed gray a few years ago.
Yes, there you go. And happy Monday, everybody.
Happy Monday. How was your weekend? Did you watch the big game?
I did. You know what? I'm not a football fan.
Me either.
But I was laying in bed, and we were watching this football game, and even I mean, it's like, how do you not fall in love with that game yesterday?
Wow, that was something else. And I'm with you. I don't normally watch. I like the parties with the food.
Yeah, there you go.
So my wife and I got some snacks, and we sat there and we watched the game. And I wasn't even sure I was going to watch the whole thing, but then it got real interesting, and I thought, whoa.
What a comeback.
Something else.
I mean, amazing. That guy kept throwing. I mean, amazing.
It was interesting. At one point in time, Terry Bradshaw said no one's ever come back from 28, and that's before they did it.
Right.
So nobody was expecting.
Nobody came back. Yeah, it was pretty insane. It was really worth watching. Hey, Mike, Families in Action is brought to you by your local hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS. We've been on the air now, 13 years? 13 years. That's a long time,
It is. It has given you a place to get off the streets every Monday.
I can come here and hide, right?
That's true, yeah.
Exactly. So we very much appreciate that. And also Action Family Counseling, which is alcohol and drug rehabilitation centers, everything from outpatient to residential to live-in stuff. And then the foundation I'll let you talk about.
Cary, you know what? Besides being here every Monday, I know where you are every Tuesday from 7 to 9. You're at the Free Parent Support Group.
I am.
Canyon High School, which is such a great service for the people here in Santa Clarita. They're sitting there saying, I don't know what to do. We got this problem. We didn't even know we had it. Now we found out we have a problem with our child. What in the world do we do? This is the perfect place to go. So for our listener that's sitting out there, if you know someone that has a child that's gotten into trouble with drugs or alcohol recently, this would be a wonderful thing to tell them about. Yeah, it's free, by
and
the
it's
way.
Not even just drugs and alcohol. I mean, Action is. Our Action Family Counseling is, we have intensive outpatient programs and residential, and we specifically really deal with alcohol and drugs and related problems when it comes to mental health and behavioral health stuff. But the Action Parent Teen Support Program is not a drug program. It's a program for troubled kids. So if a parent's got a kid that's going through any kind of issues, from self-esteem to school to family to drugs to whatever it is, that's what that group's for.
Wow.
And we help empower parents and help them get back in control and make it a safe place for kids to have positive peer pressure. So we take those kids in. I hear a lot of parents say, well, I don't want my kid in that room with those kids. Yeah, you do. Because, these might be the kids that got your kid in trouble, but now the peer pressure changes. It turns around. They're the kids now that'll turn it around and say, hey, I want you to be sober for a week. Why'd you yell at your mom this week? So the peer pressure completely changes into positive. So it's a good place to be.
And it's free, the magic word free, Parent Support Group every Tuesday from 7 to 9, and that's at Canyon High School. Where is it specifically?
It's in the AA building.
Okay, easy to find.
Easy to find, exactly.
Cary, a couple of weeks ago, we talked about some things relative to marijuana and some of the problems that are being, first of all, medical issues that they're not absolutely certain about, and some things that they are certain about. And then we also talked about some of the things that are happening in states that have legalized the use of recreational marijuana. Some of the stuff is really, really bad. And interestingly enough, there was a headline here, a story written by Devon Miller here at KHTS that said, marijuana, Santa Clarita hits pause, mayor discusses nuances. So we are going to have Mayor Cameron Smyth with us here in the second half of the program to talk about this, but we wanted to bring our listeners up to speed if they weren't with us a couple of weeks ago regarding all of this, Cary. There's a lot of things out there that medical science doesn't know, and some things that they do know about marijuana, and it's enough to make us say, hey, wait a minute, maybe it's not quite as innocent as everybody thinks it is. And we talked about this a week or 2 weeks ago. The National Academy of Sciences, the NAS, in a landmark written report by top scientists, The Health Effects of Cannabis and Cannabinoids, Current State of Evidence and Recommendations for Research. And this included over 10,000 peer-reviewed academic articles about marijuana.
Right.
Respiratory problems, mental health issues like psychosis, social anxiety, thoughts of suicide, increased risk of car accidents, progression to and dependence on other drugs, including studies showing connections to cocaine and heroin use, learning, memory, and attention loss, possibly permanent in some cases, and low birth rate, just to name a few.
Don't we see this all the time?
We do in the hospital at Henry Mayo Newhall Hospital where we work. And the ER is seeing this stuff all the time, Cary.
So that's what people don't understand. And when you said people say, well, I believe that people know that it's not good for you, but we've just given up. You know, society has given up. Parents have given up, and people saying it's only pot. The system has given up because it's bringing in taxes and money. So it's a whole big kind of crazy issue out there. But I deal with kids. I deal with people. And the amount of, just talk teenagers that I see that are smoking this high-grade THC right now, or eating the gummy bears or the edibles or whatever it is, these kids are in big trouble.
And they don't even know it.
And they don't even know it. Yeah. But they're losing their motivation. Their memory loss is evident. I mean, why didn't you do your homework? I forgot. Why didn't you turn in your homework? I forgot. They're dropping out of sports and dance and all kinds of activities because of the motivation problem. And I don't know that, I'm not one of those people that say, hey, every kid, every person that smokes a joint or takes a hit off pot is going to become a heroin addict, because that's ridiculous. But I can tell you almost every heroin addict that I ever met smoked pot first. So it's kind of one of those kind of things that we really got to talk to our children when they're young, and when they start breaking contracts and smoking cigarettes and then pot and then all the other drugs are what you call drugs of opportunity. They're out there.
That brings up something, Cary, and you talk about this regularly, the whole drug of opportunity thing. But there's so many people out there, and I bet our listeners sitting there saying, "I don't quite understand this." Somebody where we work in the behavioral health unit asked me today.
Right.
They said, "How do people get themselves on heroin? How does that happen?"
Well, there's a few different. Let's look at drug addiction two ways. How's that? The person that's got that addictive personality, period. They're high risk people. They start when they're young. They want to smoke cigarettes and look cool, and they say, "All right," and they go from there.
Right.
They smoke a cigarette, then they smoke a joint, and they get curious, and they start using other drugs, and before you know it, they're in trouble. So that's the addict that we all know. Now we're also treating the faces of addiction has changed dramatically, because the people we're treating today aren't just those addicts. We're treating people today in our rehabs that have no past history of substance abuse. There's no track record. They're in their 40s or 50s. They're going to the doctor, they're having surgeries and whatever it is that they're doing, and they're put on pain medications. And from when you, let's say somebody goes to a hospital has an operation, okay? They're put on Demerol or morphine or whatever it is so that they feel no pain when they're getting out of the operation. Now, all hospitals have what you call, they're doing pain management kind of deal. So they're walking into every room and they're saying, how do you feel? From a scale from 1 to 10, where are you? When somebody's in any kind of pain, they're going to say 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? Because they don't want to hurt. Now, somebody on a 10, they'd have to be able to not get out of bed, if you think about it. I mean, they were almost dead. That's how bad the pain was.
Totally debilitating.
Totally, exactly. But when somebody says 10, the nurses tell the doctors go, oh my, give them some more meds. So you're getting these people now, they're in the hospital 4, 5, 6, 7 days on this extremely powerful drug to relieve pain. But then it comes time to discharge these people. Already their immunity is way up. And they're given a prescription of, let's say, Vicodin. So they go home. It says 1 every 4 hours. 1 every 4 hours isn't going to touch what they've been doing in the hospital. So they're already addicted.
Yeah.
So now 1 every 4 hours is really 4 every 4 hours. And then we're off to the races.
And the doctors don't always have that conversation with them about being careful.
Well, the doctors need to have a lot more conversations with them. It's not just being careful that these pills are addictive, listen to your body. It also causes all kinds of emotional stuff. When you're putting any kind of these opiates in your body and mind, lots of stuff comes with that. Besides just physical dependency, you got emotional dependency, you got depression, you got anxiety, all kinds of stuff's going to pop up. And then your body's going to go through changes. I mean, you can get constipated and all kinds of other issues that come with these opiates.
And one of the things that they've determined recently is that another thing they don't know about marijuana is they know that it interacts with prescription drugs, but they don't know to what degree.
Right.
But it may be to a great degree. They had that person that jumped to his death from a hotel room, and he had prescription drugs in his system, and he also had marijuana.
Well, it used to be when I was a kid, they had this reefer madness, and it was ridiculous. And we all figured out quickly it wasn't true.
That was a film, by the way.
It was a film, and somebody smoked a joint, they'd be on top of a school. If you've seen it,
Yeah.
and they jumped off a roof and killed themselves. Now, growing up, marijuana wasn't like that. But I'll tell you what, the marijuana of today is a little bit different. We are seeing people coming to our ERs and our mental health units and our drug rehabilitation centers that are really psychotic.
Right.
And the only thing showing up in their drug tests is THC. So it's really become something that we are afraid of. And we are watching, and people really need to take note about that. Used to be, but again, if you look at marijuana, it used to be, 3.3 milligrams of THC, the drug that gets you high. Now it's 25 milligrams in a long hit, or 80.
That's a lot.
In the oils and in edibles. So yeah, it's not the same kind of thing, especially when you take an adolescent brain. But we're seeing adults, Michael, right?
Yeah,
that are
absolutely.
Completely psychotic.
Right.
And the only thing showing is THC.
THC, that's it.
We're seeing this every day. So we're not making this stuff up. We work at the hospital. I run the psych unit.
Right.
So we see this every day.
And we talked about this last week, the whole thing about edibles,
Right.
where they're infusing cookies, brownies, candies, and one of the things that is happening is that people don't understand that when you take a brownie or a cookie or candy that's infused with marijuana, is that the effect does not take place at the same time it would if you were smoking it. It's not instant. So what happens is it's generally 30 minutes later. But it also depends on the person. So it depends on the person, and it depends on how much you've eaten. Now, here's what's happening, Cary, as we talked about last week. Somebody takes a cookie, nothing happens. So what are they going to do? Well, they're going to eat another cookie and another cookie and maybe another cookie. Well, guess what? They've just done way too much.
Right.
And in the case of kids, they're in a bad way. That we had this fourth grader that was on the bus that got a hold of some candy that somebody brought, and it was laced with marijuana. The kid ate the candy, had no idea there was marijuana, and it ended up incredibly sick, had to be taken to the ED, couldn't hardly even speak. And the doctor said, I've never seen anyone of this small of a frame that had this much marijuana in them.
Well, the problem is when people go to these clinics and they buy, forget just the pot, they're buying the candies and the edibles and cookies and brownies, and kids are finding them. It's just like vaping. We're getting kids in the ER right now, little kids that are drinking the vape juice because it's sweet and it smells
right.
good.
It looks like candy. Yeah.
So it's, I mean, how do you say this? Be careful.
Yeah, and the other thing that, and I know you know about this, that I just read about it, I had no idea. Dripping, the latest thing, dripping, where they actually take the vaping device, open it up so they can get to the little heater inside of it, and they're letting the oil drip directly onto it because they say it intensifies the flavor if it's flavored. And it also intensifies the effect.
Right.
The problem with it, besides all of that, is that the superheating of the oil causes it to create carcinogens, cancer-causing chemicals now that they're sucking into their lungs, and other material that they're sucking into their lungs that is not friendly to the human body. So they think they're doing something cool. Hey, I found a way to get this to be more of a wow, but it's going to bite them.
Well, anything, you think about vaping anyways. I mean, anything that you inhale that goes into your lungs
Hello.
doesn't sound real healthy to me. Now
No.
you're putting stuff with chemicals and all kinds of stuff in there. It sounds pretty dangerous. And it's like I was telling somebody the other day, we have one body.
Yes.
If we screw our body up,
We're done.
we're in big trouble.
There's no do-over.
You can't change, you can't reverse some of the stuff that you do.
Not a do-over. And
So when you're ready to do something, I mean, even to take a cigarette, for instance, what does it say on most packs? It says the Surgeon General has determined that smoking causes lung cancer, and then it goes on. And people yet buy them, read it, and smoke.
Right.
So the next time you're ready to do something that you know is bad, vaping, smoking cigarettes, eat pot, whatever, opiates, whatever it is, ask yourself, look in the mirror and say, what is it that I hate about myself today? Why am I putting something that can destroy my only body, my precious body? Why am I doing that?
Well, let's take this a step further, because one of the things that these top scientists determined was that in some cases it's causing low birth rate. So if you're a female and you're doing this, you're not only endangering yourself, you're endangering an unborn child.
Yeah.
Even if you're not expecting, you may be causing a problem if you do become pregnant later. So, wow, we're playing with fire here. We really are.
Well, yes. And unfortunately, in my 30-plus years career in drug addiction, right, I've been to hospitals, and I've seen babies that are paying the price for their parents' activities. I've seen kids that went into seizures. I've seen kids that were in comas, that had holes in their heart. I mean, I can go on for a long time. I've been to funerals for babies that were unborn. So I've seen it all when it comes to that. And it's like I said, like we said earlier, we have one body, and we can screw it up, and maybe we won't pay the price. Maybe our children will.
Yeah, and another way that children pay a price, in every state that has legalized marijuana, this has become a problem where the emergency departments are seeing toddlers being brought in who've actually come across this, either the juice, the e-juice from the vapes that smells like candy, so they're getting into that. They're also getting into the edibles that are getting left around by their parents, okay?
Right.
And now suddenly you have a toddler that is extremely ill because of ingesting this stuff. So yeah, we are not only putting ourselves at peril, but we are absolutely making it tough on kids.
Yeah, but people that smoke a lot of pot and do other alcohol or drugs, their morals are a little bit different sometimes, because they don't look at it that way. They look at it as it's harmless. It's not going to hurt anybody. We have parents that have been ordered to our group because they've been drinking and getting high with their kids. So it's kind of like one of those things that, how do you say it? Be careful.
That's the least we can say is be careful. That and have a brain transplant.
I don't know how to say it, except for it's time
I
to
just
take
did.
it. Why don't
I
we
said
take
have a brain
Why don't we
transplant.
just take a break? How's that? You want to bring us a break?
Okay. We will be back. Our mayor, Cameron Smyth, will be with us a little later here in the program. This is Families in Action here on KHTS AM 1220, your hometown station. We'll be right back.